Hey guys, it's Lucid. Welcome back. We're jumping back into our Ring World game with EA Yomi, and it's turn 19. So to catch you up from last episode, we are raiding Formoria, and we're playing with fire, and Lanka and I both know it, because he does have a super combatant chassis, and he does have access to Holy Scourges. And let's see if that comes and bites us this episode. So, we have a message from Abyssia. This is your local hate speech against elves. Yeah, there you go. You can read it if you want to. Okay, fire gems and earth gems. We're getting these from Lanka. We are site searching his lands. He cannot use either of these gems really at the moment. So later we're going to earth empower his pretender god. But for now, we need hammers. We need lots of hammers. We need lots of hammers very quickly. Lanka also got an event where he got a midget masher, so he's going to share that with me. And then we got a message from Oceania. Don't let Abyssia's racism fool you, for he is the true enemy. He steals virgin daughters of every race and creates abominations. At least us fair elves and centaurs use our blood slaves for something are hardy and useful instead of wasting it on simple-minded siege chaff. I mean, all Abyssians are really foul spawn, are they not? But this, I assure you, we might as well... as the mighty elvish ally, not stand for such foul play and tomfoolery. Abyssia dare mention a civilized, complex nation and call us the influence of our elvish allies, when they are our disciple and truly is a devout follower at that. Let it be known that Abyssia is a foul fraud who wishes to use the elvish existence to prevent the inevitable Abyssian extinction from your blessed bones. Okay, so anyway, so it appears Abyssia and Oceania and their ally, which is, I believe Oceania is allied with Helheim. So it appears they are fighting. Okay, anyway, those are the messages. Now for the sites, we find one here, we get a quicksand. So another earth site, very, very useful. A fire site, and that's it. So every turn almost we're getting gems. So if we look at the gem income, you can see we're just kind of skyrocketing as we search through all our gems. And some of Lanka's gems are actually gems we found for them in their lands. So our site searching is going at full speed. And one thing I'd just like to kind of note is sometimes you'll notice in some of my games, I site search very late. And generally I'm site searching late if I don't have a good early use for the gems. But with Yomi and Lanka, we have great uses for gems really early. We need the gems to get our research economy going through construction. So that's one of the uses. And then I need gear from my Dione. So anyway, notice I'm doing a very strong focus on site searching. Okay, Lanka attacking Formoria in the water with big, lumbering, crappy wet ones. Versus a pretty good horde of marrows. Some of the marrows route, it looks like, no, crappy wet ones. They abandon, and they're mercs, so they're gone for good. Okay, well, let's watch all these. We have a big battle coming up. Okay, this is me raiding. Now, I did not know, this little province I was raiding, turns out it's got a bunch of circle masters in it. So we are going to be getting a bunch of skelly spam, and this guy is not really kitted for skelly spam. Now, fortunately, most of it's just animate skeletons, or raise skeletons. But it is going to build up a little too fast for us here. And you can see we get surrounded. We are not getting afflicted, but we're taking a fair amount of damage. Now, we do kill almost all their archers and whatnot. And if we had Fire Shield, we would dominate this. And we're fatigue neutral, so we're not really in risk of dying. But they're coming out faster than we can kill them, which is ultimately a pretty big problem. Yeah, so we're getting tons of kills. That's kind of nice, but we're also risking lots of afflictions, which is not so nice. Okay. So there's that. Now we have a big battle, it looks like, here with Lanka. So he's got his big doom stack, and on this side, we have the Pretender God, Formoria, finally making his appearance, and he's kitted out in a very interesting way. So he has pretty good protection. He's got this chainmail displacement, which isn't something you see a lot, but it's one of the few armors that gives a defense bonus. And it's also reasonably low encumbrance, so and quite high protection. So this is a pretty good armor if you're going for a semi-defense build. He has Boots of Flying, which means it's going to be very difficult to kill him, because as soon as he gets a low, he can just fly away. It also gives him a ton of maneuverability on the strategic map. He's got an Ice Helmet, which just gives him cold resistance, which is not super useful. It probably just was a cheap hat he could make, is my guess. Vine Shield, which is pretty damn good for entangling attackers. This is going to make it very difficult for Lanka in this battle to kill him. And then he has a Frost Brand, which is going to do a good job. I mean, it's a pretty good all-around weapon, but then it's going to do a good job also at clearing out little Lankan dudes who are going to be 2 a square. It also will be good against my Dione if I happen to Stone Skin, because I do not have cold resistance, and then if I Stone Skin, I'm going to be getting nailed by this. This will be basically hopped up to a 17 damage armor-piercing attack, which will never miss. So, yeah, it's pretty damn strong. If I get fully buffed up, this 12 armor-piercing damage isn't going to be that much against Dione. It'll basically be... like, if I get up to 30 protection, it's still probably not going to do damage. But anyway, it's something I have to be a little careful about. And then he also has this Stone Bird, which is 5 length. I do not know if it is going to basically do a bunch of repelling for him. I think it will, but I'm not sure. And then it's going to help kill Chaffee units around them pretty quickly. The only thing is, 4 attacks, all these 4 attacks are going to have to go to the same unit. And also, it's more likely to hit the head. Now, I cannot remember, do these guys have hats? They do not have hats, so 5 protection, this little thing is almost guaranteed going to kill one of Lanka's little Palangshas, or whatever you call it, a turn. It can't kill more than that, but it's basically going to kill one every single turn. Yeah. So without further ado, let's watch and see what happens. So Lanka's just going to be... what the hell? Okay, he's casting Hell Power. Holy shit. Okay, so he's now 2 higher in all his magic paths, and he got a very strong horror mark. I guess he's so tough, he doesn't really care about horrors, and he's got recuperation, so he's like, who cares? Okay, here comes the first horror attacking him. Weakness Tentacles. I don't know if it weakened him here. Yeah, I don't see any weakness yet. Personal Regeneration. Now, this guy does have... okay, Brass Claws do not do more horror marking, but he does have a Venomous Bite. This guy has Poison Resistance. He has no Shock Resistance, though, so these Brass Claws are going to kind of hurt him. Okay, Rip Horror, and now it's just... so he's got Personal Regen, and he's got Hell Power. Now, Hell Power takes care of any reinvigoration problems he's going to have. He's got 6 reinvigoration, so he's definitely fatigue neutral. The other thing that you'll see now is because Lanka has surrounded him, the horrors which are spawning to come after him are not attacking him, they're attacking Lanka. Normally they would kind of prefer to attack him because he's horror marked, and that's a way to control who the horrors go after. And there's actually a thing you can do if you're a Blood Astral Nation. You can summon horrors if you're also casting Horror Mark, because you will guide them to attack your enemy, and then you'll kill them after the fight, presumably. But if you're fighting a super combatant, or especially a Pretender God, it's kind of two birds with one stone, because you can Horror Mark them, which is good, and then as you summon horrors, they'll basically go beeline it right to the enemy Pretender instead of attacking your troops. But you can see here, okay, he's all surrounded. I don't see any horrors back here. Yeah, all the horrors are going to come try to attack him, but I don't see any more spawning at the moment. But you can see he is not getting hurt at all. We'll just pull up the detailed combat log so we can see what's happening. So a lot of these are actually getting repelled. How is it the Frostbrand is repelling? He's getting some very, very high Frostbrand repels. And you can see this is just murdering. That's very weird. But look at that repel value, 31. That's so high. I actually think I need to figure this out. I'm gonna actually pause real quick. Okay, so I went and looked it up, and I've actually been chatting with people in Discord about it, because this is actually a really weird mechanic. There's some things I want to show you. One of the things is you can see that almost all these attacks are getting repelled. And most of them are getting repelled without there even being a morale check. And that was not my understanding of how it was supposed to work. Like you can see here, repel value 19 versus defense value 12. That's just the end of this guy's attack. And you can see we're not even getting all tangled up in vine shields. So, and his defense has gotten harassed down a bit, like a fair amount. But yeah, he's... I think what's happened, his defense would probably be a bit lower now. I'm not sure. But he would definitely be getting hit. Yeah, and I don't know the complete sequence, you know, when does a Vine Shield trigger versus when does the harass penalty occur. But what I do know is that most of the attacks are just ending with the repel check. And this is never how it worked in Dominions 4. I know the repel system has been changed from Dominions 4 to 5. It used to be that basically your effective weapon length would erode by 1 every time you got attacked from another square and you did a repel check. So that basically repel was good in a 1v1, but not good if you were surrounded. Now it does not erode. But as a to balance it out, I guess, it used to be you would do a repel check against everybody in the square, and now you only do a repel check against the person you're attacking. So anyway, there's some changes, but the net effect, though, appears to be this guy is just blocking literally everything. And it's a little bit shocking, I think, to the people on Discord, though some had some kind of knowledge of it. But I don't think it's working as planned. I think it was intended to work that if you made this repel check, like you see here, then you would have to go make a morale check. But I think the way it actually is working is that if you lose this first check, like you can see up here, so down here we lose it. The attack just ends. We don't go through the morale, which I think is what's supposed to happen. What I think actually is happening is that only if the attacker loses the morale check, or this check, do you make a morale check. So I don't think that's how it's supposed to work. I think this is actually kind of bugged. But the net effect is that this guy is basically untouchable. I mean, we're not even damaging him with super high damage sacreds. So if we were to try to get around this, based on my understanding now, which I'm like 1 or 2 turns ahead of this on the real game, so we can still have time to kind of like apply it. If we want to get around it, we need to have 2 things. We need to have really high morale on our unit that's going to kill him. And we need to have a long... I don't think we're going to have a longer weapon. So if you don't have a longer weapon than him, which we're not because he has his stone bird, though I'm not totally sure how that application is going to work, but if we have a longer weapon, if we don't have a longer weapon than him, which we may not, then basically what's going to happen is we're going to have to pass a morale check, or the attacker's defense. So this score here, 13, is going to need to be kind of higher than the defender's attack, which is 13. So, yeah. We'll finish watching this, but then I'll kind of talk through how we might be able to do that. And there may be a way, now that I have some understanding of at least how this mechanic works, even though it may be broken, how we can handle it. Okay, so he's getting attacked here, kills that guy. He's going to fly over here and chase down the rest of the Lankan army. Honestly, oddly, there's no horrors, and now he flies up here, and he's gone, but then a bunch of horrors spawn, which I don't really know how that works, but you would think the horrors would attack him until he killed them all, but I guess the battle's over somehow. Anyway, so that turned out to be really bad for Lanka. He lost about 30 of these guys, which is a lot. It's like, he's probably making 4 per turn. So it's almost a year of production, and we're only like a year into the game. So that was a really big deal for him. But we are fighting an asymmetrical war where it's 2v1. So if this were like a single 1v1, he would be on his heels now. But he's got me, and I have him. And we'll hold hands into the sunset as we continue fighting Formoria, who is, I will say, very, very bravely facing off against us. The odds are not in your favor fighting this particular nation combo 2v1. Okay, so we get a Cloud Mage, which actually is quite nice. We can site search here, which we're going to do, and then we're going to move him back, and he can start making Alquils for me. Normally I don't want to waste Dione or other dudes forging, but this guy can. Yeah, so anyway, that's a super nice event. He also came with 2 free air gems, which we'll take. We get some death gems, and we get some more earth gems, so luck haters, suck on it. We're getting some good events, as we have been getting all game. Anyway, yeah, so this is where the Daio of War is. Now, let's talk real quick. I think this is going to be kind of a shorter episode than normal, whereas we normally do 2 turns, but I think there's stuff to talk about. I want to talk about this mechanic real quick. So if we take a look at this guy, let's see how he would do against their Pretender. So our defense isn't that great, and our attack isn't that great. So I think, and because our weapon length, I think, is shorter than his, which I don't think this is going to go. I think this will go against a Stone Bird. I think that's why you put that on there. So he must have a pretty sophisticated understanding of this, how this bugged mechanic works, I think. I think it's bugged. We'll find out. I'm going to put a bug report in. Better than me or other people I've talked to. So, anyway, this guy's kind of playing some pretty cool dominions, but let's see how this guy would do. So I think what would happen is, because this is a shorter length than the Stone Bird, there would be a repel check that would need to be made. The repel check would test this 17 attack against this guy's it would be against this guy's. Let him fully buff up here. the other thing too is after he kills it, it's going to be a little higher. So yeah, 25 attack. Where is this all coming from? Hell Power is going to give him 4. So that's why he's doing Hell Power, I think, too. So Hell Power is going to give him 4. Bless bonus is going to give him 2. Interesting. So this guy, I was thinking his Bless was kind of garbage with attack and Blood Surge, but I see what he's doing now, and it's actually very sophisticated based on Repel. And I'm kind of glad we're attacking him early in one way, because while it seems this guy has just been on his heels and running back and back and back, I think he does have some pretty interesting stuff planned. And some of that is probably based on the fact that these Formorian giants and their cap-only... let's take a look at these guys. Well, if you want to read about different nations, you go to... I'll show you real quick again. You go to Statistics, and then you do Pretenders of the World, and then you can just click on any of these, and it will show you the national overview. So I want to see Formoria. So anyway, if he's getting a bunch of these guys, they have length 4 spears, which means if they get really high attack, which he will have pretty high attack after they kill one dude, it will be 14 plus 3, 17. Yeah, 17, and then once they get a few experience stars, it could be up towards 19. They will have a very, very efficient repel check being made. And then that, combined with all the air thuggery stuff, they actually may be able to super combatant. Now, I've already gone over, I think, a little bit why I think this is probably bugged and not working as intended, but for the moment, we'll just assume it's working as intended. But anyway, that's a scary threat if he's going to just be using these guys kind of ubiquitously. So, and the thing is even though we've gotten him really small right now, if you have a nation which can very efficiently use super combatants, you can come back very, very quickly, especially if he keeps his army alive, because he'll need his army for sieging down forts. So, anyway, so we were talking about it. This guy is going to be basically, for the Pretender God, he's going to be running it up against a 26 attack check. So he is not going to, his attack... Okay, the Mace of Protection actually has a crappier attack. It's attack 2 versus this thing, which is an attack... Oh, wait, no. Why is this so much higher? Oh, he's got the heroic ability and an experience bonus. So my other guys are going to do much better. But this guy doesn't... Well, he has an experience bonus too. Why does this guy... Okay, he does not have as much... Okay, this guy does not have an experience bonus. Okay, so that's why his attack kind of sucks. But anyway, yeah, so once... assuming this other guy gets a few kills, maybe off killing my wolves or something, he's going to go up to 25 attack, the other guy. And then it's going to be my defense against his attack, which will be... yeah, 13 against 25... Or, yeah, 25. So I'm always going to lose it. So I won't even be able to hit him, which is kind of a problem. So anyway, very interesting build. Very, very interesting build. I've never seen anything like it that this guy's using. Very interesting, and it's apparently he has figured something out that not really many other people have, a way to build a repel-based super combatant. So we'll be having to deal with that. I think we can do it. The key is going to be having a high defense score on my Dione, which will allow me to get through his repelling, oddly enough. Which kind of, in some ways, it makes sense. Like, I can understand how the mechanic should work kind of like this, but I don't think it's kind of balanced how it is. The way it should work, we'll talk about it again super quick, even though maybe it's painful for you. The way it should work is that, I'm going to jump forward here. Okay. So, okay, we can see how it works here. Actually, this is a great example. So the way it works, this first attack went through the Frostbrand. Okay, this actually is kind of weird. Okay, so I don't know what this magic penetration stuff. Okay, this is actually. Okay, actually, this is really instrumental. This one screen. I think we can explain everything. It's going to take a while, but the first attack is going to do a repel chance against the Frostbrand. So it's going to be comparing this one length weapon against this, and it's using essentially this guy's Frostbrand attack score, which I don't. It's gotten lowered some, and I don't know why. It's using the maybe it's some DRN or something on it. I don't totally know how this number's generated, but it's using. I think this is. Basically their attack skill on their Frostbrand, but it's lower than that. It was higher than that later. But we'll fast forward and see if it goes higher in a minute. But it's basically doing this check against the defense value of the Palantra. And in this case, we pass it. And because we pass it, it goes on to see, okay, well, what about do you get through the Stone Bird? And we pass that too. And we have to pass both of these in order for us to have any chance of landing an attack. So now that we've passed it, this is a check to see if we pass the Vine Shield. So the Vine Shield, I think this is before, I think we already did an attack roll. Oh no, the attack roll hasn't even happened yet. So we passed the Vine Shield. Now that we've passed the Vine Shield, now we do our actual attack versus defense roll. And this attack roll, we can see failed. Now, I do not know why we're skipping forward and doing another repel check. It looks like we've got 2 weapons, but we don't. So I'm not totally sure what's happening with this second check. But you can see a similar story in that here we pass it, here we don't pass it. Because we don't pass it, there is a, okay, here there's a morale check. Okay, so I don't know why it went to this other repel, but basically what happened, we didn't pass... or we passed the first repel check against the Frostbrand. We failed to pass the second repel check against the Stone Bird. Now, in this case, before when we would not pass, and we'll see it again later, that's the end of this story. But here you can see we don't pass, and instead what happens is we go to the expected mechanic where you basically have to do a morale check against the repel roll. In this case, we pass it. So we pass it and we're damaged by repel, which you just take 1 damage, which is not a big deal. Let's zoom in here and see if we can actually see the 1 damage. Hard to tell what's going on. So we're damaged, but then you can see we do a hit against the Vine Shield. And in this case, we actually fail the Vine Shield check. And Vine Shield is a check against MR. And so that's one of these guys over here getting... so here you can see him doing more repels. But anyway, that was one of the guys getting the Vine Shield effect, the Entangled. But here you can see kind of the problem. The problem is, if we're losing these repel checks, as we're losing here, what it should do is give us a chance to make a morale check, I believe. But instead, it's fully repelled. There's nothing else to it. And the attack's just over. We don't even go to the Vine Shield. We don't make an attack roll. So if you think of all the layers we have to get through to just make a successful attack on this guy, we have to make a successful repel check against both his weapons. Once we have made a repel check against both his weapons. Like here, you could say, okay, this was this one. We made a repel check here. We passed it. We made a repel check here, and we lost it, and that's the end of the attack. It's done. I don't know if you critically lose it. Like if you lose it by more than something, you don't even go into the morale portion. Because down here, you can see there's a repel value 22 versus defense value 19, so we fail this. But in this case, we fail it. And we go on to do the morale checks. So there's something very, very weird going on, because here you can see we're doing the morale check. We failed the morale check. I mean, we beat the morale check, but then we come down here, we're damaged by it. Okay, odd. We then make a morale check against... I really don't understand what's going on. We then make a morale check against the Stonebird for the repel. And in this case, I think this counts as a pass. But then we do a morale check against it. And our morale was higher than the repel roll, so that counts as a success. But then we have to go against the Vine Shield. And in this case, this was considered a success. We passed the Vine Shield check. And then we have to do a roll against the defense. And this guy's got ridiculously high defense. So we fail that, and that's the end of that attack. So there's like a million hoops we have to jump through to successfully land an attack. Like a million. A literal million. Yeah, so I'm not totally sure what we're going to do here. I mean, this is actually a problem. None of these guys are just doing anything. But I think we know the traits we want. The traits we want to successfully deal with this are we need very high attack, and we need very high defense on our thugs, or on our super combatants. And if we have that, there's a decent chance that we can get through it. I'm probably going to have to do some offline testing to figure out how this works. But anyway, I'll also be investigating on Discord some, talking with people who know the game better than I do. And then if we think it's a bug, we will definitely report it. But anyway, kind of crazy going through all those mechanics. And this guy, we got to be careful with him, because while we have steamrolled over him and taken a bunch of his land, I do not think he's going to roll over and die. And he may make this either so costly that it's not even worth it to finish this guy off, or we could just, flat out lose. So anyway, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next episode.